Hello, everybody. This is Seth Jenson from Jenson Group Real Estate coming at you from our office here in Centennial, Colorado. Centennial, Inglewood, somewhere around there. And we are doing our first podcast. Very excited to come to you guys today. So just as a quick introduction, I'm Seth Jenson. I'm a real estate agent. I'm the founder of Jenson Group Real Estate, and I've been in real estate for 17 going on 18 years, been helping people buy and sell homes, and also have some experience investing, and just really love so many things about real estate. I love working with clients, helping them buy and sell homes, helping them with one of the most important decisions that they ever get to make. I love the intimacy and just being so deeply involved in people's lives, at least for a brief window, while they're in periods of transition. And I also love houses in Colorado, and it's just been such an interesting experience seeing the ups and downs of the real estate market. So on this podcast, I hope that I'll be able to, with my co-host that I'll be introducing shortly, and other people that we bring on as guests to the show, hope that we can bring you really interesting, relevant, current information about what's happening in the real estate market, and just bring you things that will make the experience of buying and selling more, that make you more informed, and just give you some ideas and things that you may not know about, and just make the process more enjoyable, hopefully too. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Tanera Dooley. She is a broker associate here at Jenson Group Real Estate, and she comes to us from Illinois. And I'll let maybe you tell a little bit about yourself, Tanera. So
yeah,
let's turn it over to you.
Thank you, Seth. Hi, everyone. Like Seth said, my name is Tanera Dooley. I moved to Colorado a couple of years ago, and just like Seth, I love Colorado. I pretty much know the ins and outs of all of the neighborhoods in Denver, so I can tell you each and every little thing about them. So why I got into real estate is my mom was an interior decorator, and I always fell in love with going with her to the different houses she was decorating. And I just love, I love showing properties. Not everyone can say that, but I love taking a look at everything and how unique they are. And I really energize off of talking with people and spending time with them, and sharing my knowledge and learning more from others as well. So thanks for having me, Seth.
Awesome. So glad you're here. Couldn't do it without you. So this will be a good show.
Yeah, I'm super
kind of
excited.
Yeah, me too. I'm kind of new at podcasting. I've had a couple of attempts in the past, but you actually have done some podcasts in the past, haven't you?
Yes, me and my sister did one for a short time. I still have people asking me today, what's going on with your guys' podcast? Didn't end up working out because we're in two different states and we don't have our awesome producer that we do now. But yeah, we have done a podcast before, but super excited about this one. It's a little more focused in on an expertise more so than just talking to everyone.
Absolutely. Well, you're definitely great on video and a natural at this. So, if we stumble or get stuck here, we're just going to turn it over to you and let you run with it.
All right. Sounds good.
Oh, so yeah, anyway, so glad to have you here. Thanks so much. And thank you to our producer as well. Maybe we'll talk more about him in the future, but so a couple things that we wanted to go over today. We'd love to give you just a quick market update. Okay.
Yeah.
And just talk about what's going on in the market today. And then Tanera and I have a few tips for you on how to win your dream home, which is no easy feat in today's market. And then we'll just wrap up with a little community talk. So that's kind of our format. So let's get started. I think we're going to go over some market stats here. And
yeah, the most exciting part.
Yes. So, and I think, I don't know if this is, so we're doing this, we have some listeners, and we're going to have some people watching the video. Okay. And I think if you're watching the video right now, I have got some stats pulled up, and this is really interesting. So if you look at January stats, the average price was $679,386 in the greater Denver metro area. This is the 7-county greater Denver metro area. which is kind of unbelievable. That kind of a price is insane. So that's actually 8.7% higher than it was at this time last year. If you look at the median, and I don't have the median numbers right in front of me, but it's even greater than that. So the average kind of makes it sound like it's not as much of a jump as it actually is. But those numbers are just unheard of to go from that. Just a few years ago, we were down below 500. So it's pretty phenomenal to be where we are. That is for single family homes. And now let's look at the average close price for condos. A year ago, and this jump is even bigger, we were at 393,000. This year we're almost at 450 for a condo townhome type of a property on average. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
I mean, what were prices like when you moved here from Illinois 2 years ago?
Oh,
were you
goodness.
guys
I was honestly looking for apartments at the time. I could not tell you the price of a condo.
Well, I was talking to some clients, just a couple, that have been renting for a little bit. They moved here from Utah, and even just like at the end of last year, they were, kind of getting ready because their lease is coming up pretty soon. And, we've just both been blown away at just how much prices have jumped even in the last 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
So, and those are some numbers that we can look at here too. Like, if you look at these condo numbers, it's up 3% in January from just 1 month ago. So pretty crazy. The next number is the price per square foot. So the average price per square foot right now in Denver for single family is $276 per square foot. And that is up from $236 a year ago. So it's up 18%. So I listed a house just a couple of weeks ago in Aurora. It's a great home, great starter home, only around 1,450 square feet above grade. But we actually got let's see, let me double check. I don't want to misquote this. 417 per square foot for this house, which is just like for a starter home, you just kind of wonder. It's tough these days to get into a home in this market with such limited inventory. So
absolutely good for your sellers though.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a seller, and it can also be a good time to be a buyer too. We'll give you some hope. We don't want to make it all about the sellers at all, but it's definitely a good time to be a seller in Denver. That's for sure. The last thing I'm going to go over here is the average days in MLS. So last year, keep in mind this is the average. So we have some I don't know what's the word, some outliers that are dragging this number down. But last year it was 26 days on the market, and this year we're at 19. But if you look at the median numbers, it's probably closer to like 3 or 4 days. There aren't very many listings that last longer than the weekend right now. Has that been your experience too, Tanera?
Yes. Typically things hit the market on our side of things Thursday and are pending by Monday. So we don't see many that go longer than that. And typically they also have multiple offers. So sounds about right with 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, that's the case. So usually you're not going to be on the market longer than a weekend. If there are cases if it's in a certain area or it's a unique property that it might be a little bit longer, and we certainly have some of those still. But definitely, if it's priced right and if it's in a popular area and if it's your typical 3 or 4 bedroom home, it's gonna go really, really fast and get a lot of offers on it. So
absolutely.
My wife and I, just as a quick side note, we're always looking for our next home, and where do we want to go from here, and looking at properties. And we've actually made an offer recently on one, and we were one of the unlucky ones. So you think sometimes you think, okay, I got this, I'm a realtor, I know what to do, I know how to get the house. But it's pretty cutthroat out there, and usually the one that has the highest price and appraisal gap and all sorts of things, we'll talk about that a little bit later. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but there's factors that sometimes you can't control, and so you just have to keep at it until you find the right house. So maybe I should have had you help me with that one, Tanera.
Yeah, maybe I could have helped a little bit more, but I think you sometimes can get a little attached when it's personal and your emotions play into it a little bit more. So I am
It's true.
excited for that part when I go to purchase a house.
Yes, absolutely. Well, cool. So without any further ado, let's see. I think next we're going to talk a little bit about how to win your dream home. So,
Yeah,
I think we've painted a little bit of a picture here about what the market's like and, how you can win some and you can lose some.
absolutely.
I was, brainstorming a little bit with Tanera about, maybe just 4 tips on how you can win your dream home. There's a lot of things you can do, probably more than we
Mhm.
want to go into today, but just four things. Let me give you a quick overview and then we'll just dissect those a little bit more. But number one, partner with an expert realtor. Number two, partner with an expert lender. Number three, define your search area and keep refining it. And number four, make aggressive offers. So let's talk about the first thing. It might seem a little self-serving to talk about finding a pro realtor. And I'm not, there's lots of great realtors out there. So no matter what you do, find a good realtor that's going to be, I think the key things that you want to look for is someone who's got availability, someone who's responsive, good at communicating.
Right.
If you don't hear from your realtor for a day, you could miss out on, a hot property. So you've got to have somebody who's on top of it, aggressive and really in it full time, who knows the market, who's involved and kind of knows what's going on, someone with
Yeah.
experience. And so I think it's important to choose your realtor wisely. Don't just work with, anybody, but find somebody you trust that knows what they're doing and has some good support behind them and that can really advocate for you, fight for you, be aggressive. And so I think that's super important. So number one,
Yeah. Yeah,
find a good realtor.
definitely.
Don't you think so, Tanera? Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, and I think, just sometimes I've heard before, of course, everyone has a friend or a relative that's in the business, but sometimes someone else could be a better fit for you. You got to fit personalities and you got to make sure you're comfortable with them. And like you said, you have to trust them. So I think those are some things because, like I just said, like there's so many emotions when you're buying a house. You're going to sometimes raise a family there and you're going to have so many life-changing events that happen. So I just think having that person who is going to be with you every step of the way and make it super rewarding is extremely important. And a lot of people sometimes forget about. So
Definitely. Thank you. That's so true. It's interesting how the personal things can get in the way sometimes.
yeah.
But also on the listing side of things, I list a lot of homes as well, and I get to see a lot of different agents come across, and how they communicate, how they represent their clients, and
Mhm.
some of them are just amazing, super professional, and I'm just like, wow, I'm super impressed with this person, and I know that if I work with them that my client wouldn't be disappointed and things would most likely work out really well. And then there's other times that I'm like, who is this person? Like, and where did they come from? And why didn't they even like reach out to me? And the communication is just not there, and they're not answering the phone when I'm calling them. And
Yeah.
it's like you got to be all in. And I feel
Right.
like some realtors get it and they really work hard for their clients, and they earn, in my opinion, every bit of the commission they earn. And then
Absolutely.
others, it's just like, I feel bad for their clients because they're just not getting anywhere and they're just spinning their wheels and they're not getting their offers accepted. So
Yeah. On
realtors are
that
not.
note, on
Yeah.
that note, I had actually just this past weekend, one of the agents who submitted an offer, she wanted to be sure she knew she was hearing back from me. It was my listing, so I was just communicating back with her. And she was at dinner and I called her and she's like, I'm so sorry. Like it's loud in here. Like I'm at dinner. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, why are you apologizing that you're at dinner on a Saturday night? It was like 5:30 p.m. And she was like, I brought my laptop, like just in case I needed to submit any offers. And so I thought that was awesome. And she's been great to work with. So that was
That is
super
awesome.
unique.
That is awesome. Good for her. The life of a
Yeah,
realtor, right? We have to walk
I
around with our
know.
phones and our laptops at dinner.
I know.
Oh man. But it's all worth it in the end when you get the offer accepted for your client and they are so happy, and you
Exactly.
just know that you did a good job for them. I love that feeling. So okay, great. Well, let's talk about a good lender. Okay, I think equally as important
Mhm.
is working with a good lender. And again, I could say the same thing about lenders. I come across a lot of them and talk to a lot of them, and some of them are just so professional and they're easy to talk to, get a hold of. They give me the information that I need to help me educate and inform my clients about which lender is going to be the best for them. And they're not all created equal. There's local lenders, there's out-of-state lenders, there's mortgage brokers, and there's, big companies that you have no idea who you're going to be working with or talking to. So definitely it's important if you want to be competitive in this market as a buyer, do yourself a favor and align yourself with a local lender, probably someone that's recommended by your realtor, and that's going to really make you look super good on paper, and that's going to actually go the extra mile to reach out to the listing agent to communicate about your pre-approval and convince them how qualified you are, and make you look really good. If you're competing with 10 other buyers, every little thing counts, and having a good lender can make all the difference. Everything else being equal, let's say I have 5 offers for 900,000 and they all have the same things, but one lender actually calls me and he's local and he or she is just on top of it and tells me, Seth, they're A+, they're amazing, they're rock solid, nothing's going to happen. I've already underwritten everything. I've already looked at everything. I've got all the docs in. All we need is a house. Like, okay, great. That's what I want to hear. And now I can go to my seller and say, these guys are great. They're working with a really good lender. So
Yeah,
can't say that enough.
absolutely. And, sometimes they can help navigate the tough parts of being a buyer in this market, as far as, if you're a first time home buyer, they have programs for that. And not all lenders talk to their buyers about that. So I thought that was really interesting too. I went and grabbed coffee with a local lender, and he was kind of explaining to me all the ways that they can help buyers navigate this crazy market. And I think that's important too, just really being able to educate the buyers and tell them, what exactly is going to be a good fit for them, as far as the type of loan, or, the interest rate they end up getting, and just things like that. So I definitely enjoy chatting with lenders. I always learn from them too.
Absolutely. There's so much to learn, and there's so many ins and outs of, I think as realtors, we have to know a lot about that. And then again, the best person to talk to is a lender, and they're going to really guide you to the best product and how to structure it, and down payment and appraisal gaps and all sorts of different things. And well, that leads us nicely into our next point. So, well, actually,
Yeah.
we're getting there. So the next thing I think we're going to talk about is defining the area, and and then refining your search. So you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So what that means is just really dialing in on what exactly you and your family are looking for in your next home. All right, Seth, you were saying how, in order to get our clients to get their dream home, that you really have to define their search and refine it, and even keep refining it once they're in the process. So really how we educate our clients, and how you can now find your dream home, is just dialing in, know the specific area you want to be in. I have a client right now they even refined it to a street. They're like, I only want to be on this block of homes. We love it. And that's great. So then when one pops up, you're able to pull the trigger and get it. But that could also be, just whether you want 3 or 4 bedrooms. Do you actually want 4? Do you need 4? Or would you be okay with 3? Or if you have a couple dogs, you're probably going to want a fenced in backyard. So that's really important to tell your realtor. And of course, we'll be asking those questions as well, going through your search. But it really is important to, know exactly what you want, so you don't have a ton of options where you're getting a little bit overwhelmed. But you're able to, dial in and figure out exactly what you're looking for. And that's a process too. It doesn't have to come up front. And we see that all the time, where, you start with a ton of things that you're like, oh, like we could have that, or like we don't need that type of thing. But once you start looking, you're really going to learn what you actually do and do not need and want. So
exactly. I think it's important what you said. You don't want to cast your net too wide. It's okay initially to do that, but over time you've got to kind of narrow it down and hone it in. And if you're looking from home at homes from like Colorado Springs all the way up to Fort Collins, that's going to be a little,
Right.
it's going to be, you can't get after every single opportunity that comes in. But if you start to really, narrow down, for example, I don't know, Parker, and then,
Mhm.
or even like Stonegate, or, a neighborhood, you can, and just be super quick at responding to specific homes that pop up. And then if you're not having success, you can always, it's kind of like a
Expand
process of
it.
like expand it, contract it.
Mhm.
It's not just like always set in stone. It can be a very dynamic thing. And so the communication between you and your realtor should be ongoing, and you're always like making some adjustments to it, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And of course, we can't tell you what you want. So that's going to be something that, you're just going to have to be super open about. Of course, we can lead you and kind of, discuss with you a little bit more about what is super important and versus what's not as important. But yeah, that's super important in this market, is to just really dial in, and be focused on a certain area if possible.
Absolutely. And I think that's important, like what you were saying, listening. Like as real estate professionals, we try to listen so carefully to our clients when we're talking to
Mhm.
them, meeting with them, and all the communication. And then when we're out showing homes, we pick up on things that you say, and
Yeah.
we're just there to listen and be proactive and kind of intuitive about what might be the best direction to go. So number
Exactly.
4 is making aggressive offers. So I mean, there's a lot of things that we could talk about here, but what are some of the things that you think that you've seen, Tanera,
Yeah.
that would make an offer? We kind of talked a little bit about being all in as
Right.
realtors, but I think our buyers also have to be all in if they want to
Absolutely.
be successful in this market. So what does that look like?
Absolutely. So honestly, I think the first step is getting pre-approved, which goes into having the best lender on your side. If you're not pre-approved, you typically won't be able to be considered if you have an offer or want to make an offer. So I think that's definitely the first step in having an aggressive offer in general. But as far as the terms go and what we are seeing on our listings and helping buyers that, sellers are looking for when selling their homes, is typically in this market, the stats show that we're looking at about, we're 100.1% typically. So asking price, say, is 900,000, then we're looking more like 909,000. So most homes are going above asking. And a
And I'll
lot of
just interject really quick, can
yeah,
I?
yeah.
Yeah, and so that's an interesting stat. It's like, that's the average. Like,
Hmm.
it's always funny to look at like average versus median, but like you might have some we might have some people out there listening, and they're like, well, why is everything going for 100,000 over,
Yeah, yeah.
150,000 over, right? And that's certainly the case. So there's like some people, there's some it's funny that the average isn't even higher than that, isn't it?
I
Kind of
know,
like
I was
surprising.
surprised. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
surprised. But I guess, of course, like you said, when homes are, a little bit more unique, or they're in an area that's not as popular, they're not always
yeah,
going to go for over asking price. So that probably brings the average down a little
brings
bit.
it down. But
Yeah.
if we like picked like the hottest properties and we did like an average of those, like
Yeah,
in
I
a
wonder what
given
that would.
weekend,
Hmm.
I would probably, what I'm seeing, and probably what you're seeing,
Yeah.
Tanera, is I'm seeing properties go for 10%, is 10 to 15% over the asking price is what
Yeah.
I'm seeing
Yeah.
on the hottest properties.
Same. Hmm.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, typically yeah, anything in between those. So that's definitely something to be aware of. And, that might mean that you need to refine your search. If the absolute top end of your budget is, say, 750, you might want to look more around that 675, 700 range, because you know that if you're looking for a turnkey house that's going to have all of the renovations and that a ton of other people are going to be looking at, you're going to have to offer above asking price. So that's definitely something to take into consideration. And,
absolutely.
and with that, there's also a really cool term that we can use too, and that's called an escalation clause. And I thought that this was one of the most important things that I learned when I was learning how to write offers was, sometimes you can say, hey, like, we'll come in at 750, but we would like to be all other competing offers up to a certain dollar amount. So you could actually get the home for 750,000, or if the next best offer, say, is 760,000 and you want to beat that by 2,000, then you technically would have an offer at 762,000. So
Mhm.
that's something that's really, I think, strong in this type of market, just in order to put yourself in the best competing offer position. So
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
I think it always makes sense to use, almost always makes sense to use an escalation
yeah,
clause.
absolutely. You
So
want to protect your buyer to not go as high as they possibly can, but in the case that it is going that high, then you have that buffer room.
yep.
Another thing, is that appraisal gap. So since homes are going for much higher over asking than normal, some homes might not appraise for as much as they're offered for. So what that means really is appraisers come and they evaluate what the market value of the home is, and typically financing only offers as much as the home appraises for. So in order to cover, say, a home you offered in, as I'll use 750 again, but it actually appraises at 700, you and the seller would typically split that $50,000 at closing. However, in order to make a super strong offer, sometimes we like to say you could cover the whole appraisal gap. So you would say we will cover the full entire appraisal gap. So at that point, you would bring $50,000 extra to the table, or you could do up to whatever you are comfortable with. But that is definitely something that is very, very competitive in what we are seeing as listing agents that sellers want to see, so they don't have to bring any additional dollar amount to the table as well. So
Absolutely. That's so important.
yeah, there's
Yep.
there's tons we can talk about here. I could
I
we
know
could
I could go
probably
on and on.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
could
mean,
go on and on.
I'll add really quick. Just
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's one of the most important things right now. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. Obviously, price is always the most important,
Right.
But if you make a super high offer and then you don't back it up with an appraisal gap, like, I don't know, like,
Mhm.
what does your price even mean?
Yeah.
So price is great as long as you back it up and give some sort of a guarantee to the seller that you're actually going to pay that price, regardless of what the
Exactly.
appraisal comes in,
Right.
depending on how aggressive you
Exactly.
want to be and how much you want the house.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Seth, what has your experience been with limiting inspection items? I know that's pretty important. And one of my sellers just accepted an offer with a waived inspection objection. So, what are your thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
that's a good one. That's a super interesting question. So like when I'm a listing agent, I would love it if my sellers could accept an offer where they waive the inspection objection and take it as
Mhm.
is. That's amazing. Fantastic. That's always a good thing. And I like to see something about that in the offers that I look at when I'm a listing agent. Are you going to come in and make some crazy high offer and then ask us for a new roof and a new furnace and beat us
Right.
up like crazy, or what's that going to be like? So if you can kind of set the right tone as a buyer agent with the listing agent and try to convey to the sellers what you're going to be like after you go under contract and how reasonable you're going to be, that's
Mhm.
kind of what it's really all about. But it definitely is important. Like if you have like 5 offers and they're all right around 900 and they all have appraisal gaps and one of them is waiving the inspection, or they're saying they're going to limit the inspection, and someone else
Mhm.
doesn't say anything about it, that might be the one thing that tips the scales in the favor of that
Right.
offer. So I on the other hand, I don't expect people as a seller or a listing agent to waive the inspection objection. I think
Yeah.
it's almost a little reckless. And like if I'm, as a buyer agent, I want to protect my buyers, and I don't think it's really smart for anyone to
Absolutely.
buy a house without an inspection unless they know what they're doing, or they're a really experienced home buyer or an investor,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
in
Okay,
construction,
with
or
doing some fixing up.
yeah. So I mean, nobody wants to buy a home and then find out that it does need a new roof, or it's got a major
Right.
sewer issue. The sewer needs to be torn out and it's going to cost $15,000, or it's got structural issues, or
Mhm.
even the furnace and AC need to be replaced. Those things can really add up, and I think people would rather know what they're getting into. So I really think it's important. Even in a competitive situation, you probably want to still have an inspection objection.
Yeah.
But if it's super cutthroat competitive, you might waive your inspection objection, but still have an inspection termination deadline. So at least in that case, you
Definitely.
can still have the right to do an inspection, get some eyes out there to look at it. And then if it comes back with some scary stuff, you can terminate the contract and get your earnest money back. And all you lost was the cost of the inspection. You don't have to get into a huge money pit situation. But
For sure.
and I don't think agents are going to look down on that, or you're going to like miss out on the, I think for the most part, everybody's asking for the ability to terminate based on inspection results. And,
Absolutely.
even if you say you're going to terminate, and it doesn't mean that you can't still go back and say, hey, here's what came up on the inspection. I know that we waived the inspection objection. It looks like we're going to probably have to terminate, but we'd really like to still buy the house. Here's what we're dealing with. We thought that these things were this way, and now we know that they're not. And we kind of agreed on that price based on thinking that the furnace and the roof were okay, and they're not. So how do you want to resolve this? Most people are going to be reasonable. They don't want to go back on the market and have to go through all that again. So usually if we just keep working at it and communicate with each other, we can usually work it out.
Absolutely. And that is why you have a pro realtor on your side to do that type of communication for you.
that brings it all home right there.
Exactly.
That's
awesome.
Great. That's great. Well, thank you, Tanera. I think those are some great tips, and we could go on and on, but those are some of the most important things right now.
Absolutely.
So here's the fun part, and Tanera, you're the fun one here. I'm just I'm like trying to stay awake here. I'm so tired from taking care of my kids, and I mean, you got dogs, so
I have a couple of dogs. They're a little exhausting. No, they stay in bed with my boyfriend when I wake up and get ready to go to work.
Oh,
so
that's
they like to sleep in. I am all set there.
Well, tell us about, I think you're always doing fun stuff. I think you had some family in town recently, and you guys went to a new place down in the Highlands.
Yeah, so I have heard nothing but good things about it. It's about 6 blocks away from where we live right now, and so my parents landed super early. I got a text from them at 7:30 a.m. on Thursday saying they landed, and they came from North Carolina. So if you can imagine how early they had to leave North Carolina to get there, they were like, all right, honestly, they were like, we need a Bloody Mary and some breakfast. So I was like, well, I think I know the place for you. So I knew, since it was a Thursday, I think since it's such a popular place, they have like over 1,000, over 4.7 star reviews. So I knew it was going to be popular. So on a Thursday, I was like, all right, we'll get in. No waiting. It'll be great. It's called Sassafras American Eatery in the Highlands on Highland Square. And my parents loved it. It was amazing. You could choose from a flight they have 5 different flavors of Bloody Marys. They have 7 different flavors of mimosas, and you can mix and match. So that was fun. And then the food was awesome. It was very much so Southern comfort, kind of an elevated Cracker Barrel, to say the least.
Oh.
No. Elevated to the max.
Just kidding. I have this certain image of Cracker Barrel.
I know. The food, not necessarily the ambiance. The ambiance
just
was
giving you a hard
way
time.
Better. I know. Yeah, there's no sitting in rocking chairs at this place. Playing checkers. But yeah, it was amazing. My mom, of course, they always offer everyone beignets. And I thought it was funny. This is embarrassing, but I always thought it was beignets. So
I probably would have said the same thing, but I don't even know what is a beignet. It's like a little.
It's like a donut almost. It's they come from New Orleans in the U.S., but I'm sure they have a French origin or something. But they're kind of like donuts, and then they have powdered sugar, and you normally put jam on them. So they're really good. But that was a hit. And then we got my mom kept talking about this duck fat gravy that came on the side of her like breakfast slider. So that was great. Just a lot of really great food, and they loved it so much that when my boyfriend's parents got into town the next day, they were like, let's go there again for breakfast on Friday. So we went 2 days in a row. It was great.
Oh my gosh.
But
Well,
yes.
I don't know, Megan, if my wife, I don't know if you're listening, but we need to go stay
Yes,
overnight in a hotel downtown and go to Sassafras for breakfast. That sounds amazing.
absolutely.
No
Yes.
kids, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in a fun area too. There's like tons of like little shops and just different even coffee shops and restaurants, and Highland Square has it all. But it was my first time going to Sassafras, and I was very pleased, and so were the parents. So
Oh man. Well, I hope that they Sassafras, if you're out there, I hope you see this, because you need to give Tanera like some free Bloody Marys for life or something, because she's
oh,
really
that would be amazing. Oh, and something
I saw
else
your
that was
TikTok of,
yeah.
and I was like, dang, I don't drink, but if I did, I want one of those. Holy cow. Those look so good.
Yeah, they were so cute. They had like little buttons that labeled every one of them because they're all different flavors. So you were able to
Yeah.
identify which one was which, and you were able to take the buttons home with you even. So
Aw.
it was a super fun experience.
Do they serve up food on paper plates?
Oh, did they?
I swear I saw some paper plates, and that made me love it
Oh,
even more.
oh,
Maybe I was imagining, but I'm like, paper plates? Wow, this place
yeah.
is
I
really
feel like
is
they
like
were just
Southern.
big white plates, but it
Oh,
was,
okay. So I'm just okay.
yeah, but all of the napkins were like hand cut pieces of fabric that were
Oh my
different
gosh.
patterns and styles and went along with kind of like that farmhouse feel. So I just all around, even the bathroom, I took a video of the bathroom in that TikTok. It was just so cute, and I
I'm
loved
watching
everything
it right
about it.
now, and those plates look like paper plates. That's hilarious.
Oh
What
man.
a cute, pretty cool dishes. Well, I'm gonna definitely check that place out.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one in Golden too. So if you
Okay.
decide to go to Golden as well, I haven't been to that one, so I can't speak much, but I'm assuming if it's half as good, then it'll be a good experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you for
Yeah,
that fun little update. I love seeing food and videos and hearing about good places. Denver's got
absolutely.
a great food scene, so
Oh my
it's
gosh,
fun.
everyone from Illinois always says otherwise, but I think there's so much to try out in Denver. I joined the Denver Foodie Facebook page to
Ooh,
to
nice.
try to get some more ideas because I love food. So
We got
I
to
will
get
be around.
Gabby. We got to get Gabby. She's on our team. She's our director of operations. We got to get her on here one time,
Oh, for sure.
to
Talk
talk
about
about all of
sushi.
her food stuff. She's got her Facebook is Feed Me Denver, and she's always posting amazing stuff about food
Oh my
restaurants.
gosh, I didn't even know that. I will have to follow
Yeah,
her.
you got to follow her. Well, thanks for tuning in today. This was a lot of fun. Tanera,
Yeah,
you made it so easy. Great job. And we're
thank
excited to
you.
do another episode next month. I think we're going to dive a little bit more next month into some different types of lenders that you can work with. There's this new term that is starting to emerge in the real estate industry called power buyers. Last year in 2021, it was the year of the iBuyer. Lots of
Hmm.
interesting things going on with like the emergence of iBuyers in the Denver market. They've been around for a little while, but they are definitely getting some traction. And then of course we all know about like Zillow and what
The
happened with
fall.
the fall of Zillow and their whole iBuying debacle. But this year in 2022, we're seeing the emergence and more commonplace with these power buyers is what they're calling them now. With they can help you to buy a home before you sell your current home. If
Mm,
you partner with them and get pre-approved, it's just kind of like a normal lender, but they can actually help you make cash offers. And if you can imagine, making a cash offer compared to other people who have all these contingencies with having to get approved and having these
mhm.
loan termination deadlines and appraisal issues and having deadlines for contingencies with selling your house. All these kind of things get taken care of with these power buyers. So
Yeah,
I think that'll be a very timely and interesting topic to dive into, and something that we know a lot about, we're very excited about. So stay
yeah,
tuned for more on that in our next episode.
absolutely. Excited to share. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Hey, we'll see you next time. Thanks again for tuning in.